2 arrows whizzed past my ears while another grazed my shoulder. I winced in pain, but we had to keep moving. I steered Gaia skillfully between the trees as the sounds of hooves closed in on us.
There she is! Get her!
Soon, we came upon a waterfall, which was one of the many ways into our village, and rode right through it. Hi, my name is Nalini, and I'm from Hawaii. Have you liked and subscribed to our channel yet? If you haven't, go ahead and do that. I grew up in a village with my papa, Chief Matanui, and my older sister, Kaimo. Kaimo and I were best friends, and we did everything together. Our warriors are feared by many surrounding villagers as we take their food, livestock, and valuables for ourselves. We're the second strongest village on the island. The first was Chief Keanu's village, who we steered clear of because their warriors overpowered us by 10 to 1. On Kaimo's 18th birthday, Papa told Kaimo that she was going to get married.
Papa, I'm not going to marry Chief Keanu's son.
Kimo, as the daughter of the chief, you are obligated to do whatever is required to ensure a better future for your village.
Papa, I'm not.
You will be married in 3 days. End of discussion.
Over the next 2 days, the village bustled with preparations for the wedding. On the day of the wedding, Kaimo's handmaids went to her bedroom, and Kaimo was gone. Papa was furious, and so was Chief Keanu.
You promised us your daughter's hand. You are a disgrace to your people. You no longer have the support of me or my people.
As Chief Keanu and his people walked away, Papa flipped the table.
Find Kimo. Find her now.
Months passed, and Kaimo was never found. With Kaimo out of the picture, guess who is next on the list for the throne? That's right, me. Instead of fun rides through the forest with Gaia, my days were now spent listening to the problems of the villagers, sitting in boring meetings with the elders and attending events that I didn't even want to attend. I also had to train to be a warrior, and I totally sucked at weapons training.
Nalini, how do you expect to protect your people if you can't protect yourself? Again.
One evening, as I sat in one of the trees overlooking the ocean, 2 women were passing by when I overheard something very interesting.
If you ask me, Chief Matanui should hire the warrior on Mount Mauna Kea to help Nalini. I heard he trained all Chief Keanu's warriors.
And we know that girl needs as much help as she could get.
Both women cackled. While I was highly annoyed by what they had said about me, I was intrigued by this warrior in the mountain. He may be my only chance of becoming a great warrior. The following night, I snuck out of the village on foot to find him. After about 2 hours, I stumbled across a small hut. I called out as I approached it. Hello? Is anyone there?
Who wants to know?
Startled, I spun around. Leaning against a tree was the cutest guy I'd ever seen. Hi. I'm looking for the warrior in the mountains. I need his help.
Look, if you're looking for someone to beat up your boyfriend because he didn't treat you right, you've come to the wrong place, princess.
How dare he think that I'd want to use the warrior skill for something as trivial as squabble between my boyfriend? Then it dawned on me. Wait, you're the warrior? I thought you'd be older.
Sorry to disappoint you. Is that all? I have things to do.
I'm a warrior in training and I need the warrior's help. Will you help me? We stood there for a few minutes just looking at each other. When he didn't respond, I turned and walked away slowly.
I'll train you. Meet me back here tomorrow night.
The next night, I went back to meet the warrior.
Let's get started.
He threw a spear at me and it fell quickly through my fingers. He raised his eyebrows and looked at me amused. I picked it up quickly and smiled nervously.
Follow me.
Over the next few weeks of training, the only thing I learned about the warrior was his name, Rangi. But even though we didn't speak, I found myself falling head over heels for him as he trained me. One night, when I arrived for training, Rangi said I needed to put what I learned into practice. How are we going to do that?
I tied a white cloth on the top of Chief Keanu's palace. Get that cloth, bring it back here, and your training will be complete.
I groaned. Does it have to be Chief Keanu's?
You want to be the best, don't you?
I nodded. About 30 minutes later, we arrived at the palace, and I saw the white cloth at the top of Chief Keanu's palace dancing in the wind.
You get the cloth and bring it back here.
I nodded and quickly scaled the palace wall undetected. I slipped in and out of the shadows and hid under wagons and behind walls until I was close enough to the palace. I used my grappling hook and walked up the side of the palace wall. As soon as I got to the roof, I untied the cloth and pushed it into my pocket. I was on my way down when I slipped on a loose tile and almost fell off the roof. I screamed as my fingers grabbed the edge of the roof, alerting the warriors that surrounded the palace.
On the roof!
I quickly pulled myself up onto the roof and ran across until I was able to jump off safely. I was quickly surrounded by 5 of Chief Keanu's warriors. I knew that I wasn't skilled enough to take them down on my own. I was about to surrender when Rangi attacked the first warrior, then the second. It wasn't long before I jumped in and Rangi and I were fighting side by side. We fought really well together. Suddenly, an arrow flew past me and headed straight for Rangi. Rangi, look out! Rangi turned just in time and caught the arrow between his fingers. He dropped the arrow and grabbed my hand.
It's time to go.
Rangi and I ran and slipped over the palace wall before we were caught. We ran until we collapsed out of breath at the foot of the mountain. Rangi held my hand.
You did well.
And guess what I have? I pulled out the white cloth and Rangi laughed. I looked into his eyes. They were so mesmerizing. Our faces were so close. Was this going to be my first kiss? I closed my eyes and leaned forward, but the kiss never came.
I think you should get home now. You've had a long night.
Rangi got up and walked away. Disappointed, I went home. Later that night, as I lay in bed thinking about Rangi, the sound of screams echoed through the village. I bolted outside and saw a few homes ablaze. Our warriors were in a standoff against Chief Keanu's warriors.
One of your people stole a prize necklace from my throne room tonight, and I want it back. My people know better than to steal from you.
Chief Keanu handed Papa a piece of fabric which only our people wore. My eyes widened. Then, Chief Keanu's warriors tossed Rangi in front of him.
My warriors heard a girl call out his name. Tell me who this girl is, and I'll spare your people and your puny little village.
I watched as Papa lifted Rangi by the neck.
Tell me your accomplice, now.
Papa! Stop! Papa dropped Rangi like a rag doll, and I ran over and stood between them.
What is the meaning of this?
Papa! I went to Chief Keanu's village, but I didn't steal anything. I swear.
If my necklace is not in my possession by tomorrow night, my warriors and I will be back, and the only thing remaining of your village will be vague memories.
Chief Keanu and his warriors rode away, and Papa went psycho. He glared at me and grabbed me by the shoulders.
This is all your fault. Look at what you caused.
Papa, you're hurting me. I didn't. Papa let go of me and walked off. I bolted towards the stables and quickly mounted Gaia. I rode out of the stable and exited the village. I needed to clear my head. I rode until I came to the thicket, where there was a rotting cottage. Looks like we'll be spending the night here. I couldn't believe that Papa didn't believe me. I was angry and hurt. I huddled against Gaia and fell asleep. I was awakened by a hand over my mouth. My heart pounded against my chest.
Shh, it's me. Someone's coming.
It was Rangi. I breathed a sigh of relief and then instantly panicked. I scanned the room. There was no way to escape.
Mount Gaia, now!
Rangi and I mounted Gaia and waited anxiously for the person to burst through the door. All at once, flamed arrows lit the cottage. Gaia reared and we bolted through the old cottage door. Splinters sprinkled across our faces. As we rode further and further into the woods, it became harder to ride. We had no choice but to go the rest of the way on foot. We tried to maneuver between the trees as quickly as we could with Gaia, but it was no use. Soon, shadows surrounded us.
Are you ready to surrender?
I squinted my eyes at the person who stepped out from behind the trees. Beams of moonlight fell across her face. Kaimo! Kaimo lifted her hands to her mouth, shocked. I ran over to her and hugged her. She hugged me back.
Nalini, it's so good to see you. We can't stay here. We've got to keep moving.
Kaimo led us to the darkest part of the woods. She stopped in front of some thick vines. She moved to the side and waved us in. On the other side of the vines was a village. This is why Papa's warriors couldn't find you. Kaimo's eyes seemed a little distant for a few seconds.
I'll show you where you'll sleep for the night.
Kaimo showed us to her hut and gave us something to eat. I quickly explained what had happened. If we don't get the necklace back, then... I burst into tears and Kaimo hugged me.
Don't worry, Nalini. We'll figure out what to do together.
When Rangi had fallen asleep, Kaimo and I went for a walk.
I'm sorry that I left, but I couldn't go through with the wedding.
I understand, but I wished you would have at least said goodbye. Kaimo went silent for a few seconds before she spoke again.
I think I have something that Chief Keanu might want more than the necklace.
What's that?
I've decided to get married to his son.
Kaimo, you can't!
I am obligated to do what is required to ensure a better future for our village. This may be our only hope.
Early the following day, Kaimo, Rangi, and I stood outside the walls of Chief Keanu's village. Are you sure about this? Kaimo nodded. We left Gaia and the other horses outside as we entered the village. We went straight to the palace where we were immediately taken to Chief Keanu.
Chief Keanu, I offer myself as a peace offering between our two villages.
You think I built all of this through peace? You've proved yourself to be disloyal once. Why will I ever allow you to marry my son? Seize them!
The warriors seized Kaimo and I, while Chief Keanu stood next to Rangi.
Have you ladies met my son, Rangi?
Your son?
Why yes, he helped me to develop this elaborate charade.
But Rangi, I thought...
You thought he cared about you? Rangi only cares about himself.
Rangi looked away from me.
I exiled him when I caught him stealing from me. I told him if he did this for me, I'd welcome him back with open arms.
Rangi, I trusted you! I screamed as I tried to wiggle free from the arms that held me.
And look at where that landed you. Take Nalini to the dungeon, and take Chemo to the execution quarters.
Suddenly, the arms around me loosened. Rangi had knocked the warrior to the ground. I punched the wire that held Kaimo. It dazed him enough to loosen his grip, and Kaimo was freed. We quickly disarmed the warriors and took their weapons, but more entered the room.
Nalini, we'll hold them off. Get help now.
But Kaimo! Go! I dodged the warriors and dove out of the window. I scaled the village wall and found Gaia where we left her. I mounted her quickly. I rode as fast as I could, and when I entered our village and steered Gaia straight into the palace, I found Papa and the warriors preparing for battle. Papa, Kaimo is in danger! I quickly told Papa about my encounter with Kaimo and Rangi's betrayal. Chief Keanu isn't coming here. He's going to execute Kaimo.
Warriors, let's go save our princess.
The warriors banged their shields with their weapons and let out a war cry as we exited the palace. I was about to mount Gaia when Dad stopped me.
Nalini, you must stay here. If we don't return, your people will need you more than ever.
I wrapped my arms around Dad and cried. He kissed me on my forehead, then mounted his horse and rode away with the other warriors. It seemed like an eternity before I heard the victory chant coming from our warriors as they entered the village.
Nalini!
Kaimo ran toward me and hugged me. Where's Papa? Kaimo shook her head, and a feeling of dread filled the air.
Papa risked his life for me.
That night, our village mourned the loss of their chief. Early the next morning, when I woke up, Kaimo sat by my bedside.
We have to discuss what's going to happen now that Papa's gone. The elders are waiting for us.
Kaimo's voice trailed off and I hugged her tightly. How were Kaimo and I going to make it without Papa? While we were discussing the future of the village, a warrior ran into the room.
The chief is alive.
Kaimo and I shared a look before we followed the warrior outside. There stood Dad, with Rangi supporting him. The elders took Papa away to see about his wounds, while the warriors seized Rangi. I felt my heart break into pieces. Rangi looked at me, but I turned and walked away. Over the next few days, I tried to keep myself as busy as possible to keep my mind off Rangi. I couldn't believe he had betrayed me. Eventually, Kaimo and I were summoned to the throne room where Papa sat.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm proud of both of you. I know I have been tough on both of you, and it couldn't have been easy.
Papa, I shouldn't have left. I should have stayed and done what was best for the village.
Sometimes, as a leader, you also have to do what's best for you, Chemo. I'm proud that you stood up for yourself. You'll be a great chiefess one day, with or without a chief by your side.
Papa then turned to me.
Nalini, I'm sorry that I didn't believe you. I hope you can forgive me, the both of you.
Kaimo and I hugged Papa. Then he told us how Rangi saved him from Chief Keanu.
Nalini, I will allow you to choose his fate.
Papa motioned for the warriors to bring Rangi in. My heartstrings pulled as Rangi was brought before us. Could I really stop loving Rangi? Even though he placed us in danger, he did save Papa and defended Kaimo and me against his father. That counted for something, didn't it? I looked at my father and then Kaimo, who nodded. I walked over to Rangi and slapped him in the face. Taking him to the dungeons! You've proved yourself to be disloyal once. You aren't welcome here. You really didn't think I'd let a traitor roam freely in our village, did you?